I wanted to make this video because for the first time in pretty much forever, it's sunk in that things take time. And I actually want you to hear this out because this is something obvious, but there's a lot of things that we think we know, but we don't internalize. And there's a point in our lives where like something clicks. And it happened for me, like very recently, that I always thought somehow I could shortcut the time element of things, right? That I could, and yes, there are ways to speed up growth. Like if you're going to sit here and say you can't use paid ads to grow or this, that, like, yes, that can all happen. But a lot of the times to do those things, you need a shit ton of money. And you can use a little bit of money, but the problem is when you use a little, it still takes time because you spend a little bit of money each day on paid ads or like whatever it is, right? If you don't have a shit ton of money in the first place, time has to be your leverage. Not only that, even if you did have all the money in the world, it's not enough because if you come into a space that's dominated by people who've been doing it for years and you, again, I guess you technically could shortcut your way with money, but I still think there's this element of like, okay, you need time in the game. Like no one's going to respect you. Like for example, I'm in the newsletter space, right? I think it's now like psychotic of me to think that I could show up, spend a ton of money and have everybody in the space, like the big dogs in the space, like respect me. Again, that could happen if I spent a shit ton of money and it went really well, but it's still just, it's all to me, it's time under the bar, right? It's how long can you sustain what you're doing? For someone to just come out of nowhere and be like, oh yeah, I invested $100,000, like, yeah, that is cool. I mean, I'm not going to discredit spending that much to grow something that you truly believe in and is cool to get more eyes on it. But there is this like appreciation for how long you've done a thing. And I'm starting to realize that now that like the things I'm doing, and I feel pretty blessed because I'm at a point in my life where I can be okay with saying this might take years. Now, that's not saying I won't make the first dollar, right? I can get proof of concept, hopefully pretty damn soon, and then just know in a few years it could be much bigger. But I think a lot of people where they might go wrong is they're backed into this corner, right? Where they're a certain age, like mid 20s, 30s, like whatever age it is, right? I went pretty young there, but it could be that age, right? Where like even at that age, even like mid 20s, you're probably at a job and maybe you are exhausted, you work all day, you don't have the time to actually focus on these things. And I'm at a point in my life where I am at college and I hate it, but it's not too demanding of me. So I have 2 years left. And originally it was kind of scary. It's like, damn, 2 years to figure everything out. But I'm like, well, no, if I think right now I have something going for me, then I do that for 2 years. That's not the same, right? I always had this feeling of like, oh, I'm like effing around and finding out, right? I'm like for 2 years, I just go on and off this thing, on and off this thing for the next 2 years. That's why I was freaked out. Now I'm like, wait a minute. It's not effing around and finding out for 2 years. It's starting now and doing that thing for 2 years, right? And that still can feel a little scary because it's like, oh, what if it was the wrong thing? What if it's a way? And it's like, it for me, I just can't see it as a waste of time. I'm like, if this is what I'm going all in on right now, it either goes well or it fails and I learn something and I move on, right? But yeah, I just wanted to make this because it fully hit me that the best people think longer term. And even if they don't, it just happened, right? Where like they weren't thinking long term, they were thinking like day to day, day to day, day to day. But it ended up accumulating into years and years and years, right? And they never quit though. That's the thing. It wasn't like they were working day to day, and they were just like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. It's like, no, they just worked day to day until they'd been doing it for 10 years, right? And this is true amongst everybody. Everybody you probably admire worked at something for a long period of time. And again, to think, again, I don't know why in my world, I think, oh, it can happen in a week, it can happen in a month. And again, there's ways to speed things up. I'm not saying be dumb, but reality is reflecting back to you what it should. And usually it's because you've never done something before. So it reflects back to you and you say, oh shit, okay, I have to learn from this. And you pivot, make the move, and you adjust. But the problem is, if people get a problem, a challenge, they don't do that. They don't say, oh, this is a learning experience. I pivot, I learn, I change and adapt. And then reality reflects the good news. And then it happens again. We have another problem. We got to fix it. Reality reflects that. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people have moments where they're hit with a challenge or an issue and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's the end point. And it's like, no, it's always just putting out fires. It's always just, you have a good idea, and it's, can you do the idea for a long time? Can you do the idea when issues arise? Can you adapt when something changes? When you have to market another way or do this thing. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Just, it's actually kind of makes me feel good, which is odd, because usually when I hear something like that, or when anybody hears something like that, like, by the way, it's going to take a long ass time. It's like, whoa, like that's not what you want to tell someone who's just starting something. Yeah, it's going to take 5 or 10 years. But again, I'm starting to become okay with that, because I'm like, it doesn't mean I'm like not profitable for 20 years. Like, no one's saying that. Like, when these entrepreneurs are saying that, it might take 10 years, like, if they're making millions at year 10, they're not saying you're just going to be, but like, again, there might be a period of time where that is the case, where it is not going extremely well. But I am now okay with that, with it taking years. Because I'm like, why would I want to rush it? Like, as long as it's happening in due time, right? I don't mind that. And now I look at my remaining, 2 years at college, and I'm like, dude, that's a compounding asset. Like, by the time I'm out of college, where will I be if right now for the next 2 years I build this thing, right? So it's not me bouncing around to all these things. It is me focusing on 1, 2, 3 things for the next 2 years and doing daily actions, improving, adapting. So I hope this hopefully fired you up. Maybe it made you the opposite. Maybe you didn't really want to hear that, but I just thought this was a cool moment to document, because I just watched Harmosi's video. He has if I wanted to get famous in 2024, here's what I do. And he breaks down, The Rock, Taylor Swift, Mr. Beast. And it just got me fired up. I was like, dude, these people put their time in, dude. Like, they put 10, 15, 20 years, even the young ones, like Harmosi was saying this, even the people, even Mr. Beast, even if you're like, oh, he's only 25 or 28, I don't know how old he is. Even if you said that, it's like, he's been doing it since he was 17, and he posted every day, and he was counting to 1 million and doing some crazy shit that no one would ever do. And I started to get excited. I'm like, who do I think I am to just show up out of nowhere and be like, I deserve all of it? If I really deserved whatever I said I did, right? I should have 100K. I should have 1 million subs. I should have $1 million. Why would that not be the case? If I did the things that would earn me 1 million subs, dollars, whatever it is, I would have it. So clearly, reality is showing me, no, you really haven't done what would earn you the 1 million subs or the $1 million, because you're not actually there. So that video, that is what's prompted this whole thing is Harmosi always talking, and clearly I love Harmosi, I'll mention him every video, but he's always talking about time under the bar, and that things take time, empires take, Rome was built in a day. But that video fired me up. Mr. Beast, The Rock, Taylor Swift. And the last point I'll end on here is that it's Taylor Swift, he said, has pretty much gotten more famous in the last 12 months than probably her entire career. And she's been making music since 2006. So I was like, that's the crazy part too, is you might make your millions, but it could be in that 12-month period, 10 years in, which is crazy to think, right? It's crazy to think that after nearly 20 years of Taylor Swift making music, these last 12 months have been again, she's been famous before that, but the explosion of growth for her music, for her fan, for everything, right? And it's wild to think that, what if you didn't actually make money for 5 years? But then on the 5th year, again, that's a horrible judgment to be like, oh, let's just keep going for 5 years straight and making $0. But you get my point. You might have proof of concept along the way, and then in the 5th year, it just blows up. And it's like, it took all those years to then, like, you say you want a $10 million business or something. And what if that happens on the 5th year? Like, you're breaking even for 5 years. And then in the 5th year, because of all that compounding for 5 years, you turn off the ads, you have an affiliate program set up, you have other ways of marketing set up, but you're using your existing fan base and it just blows up, right? So that's something that just excites me, because I'm like, it does not have to happen now. If anything, it shouldn't happen now. Why would the greatest outcome happen at the beginning? That makes no sense. Like, why would I start a newsletter or start a YouTube channel and immediately be like, yeah, I should have probably 1 million subs? Like, that's insane. That is literally insanity to think that you could start something with no expertise. No, like, everyone thinks they should have whatever, 1 million subs or have that, but like, it's just not the case. It's crazy to think that you could start something and get that. Again, I'm not saying there's not ways to be smart about it. You could get like a coach, you could get someone who's actually done the thing, but even then you're paying someone to get their experience. So if you're starting something brand new, you've never done this before, there will be things that you have to learn, adapt, change. So I'm going to wrap this up, but yeah, just keep that in mind. All these people, Kylie Jenner was another one. Like, these things take time. And again, think about it like this. If you want that $10 million, if you want that 1 million subs, would you be okay if it happened? Like, imagine you didn't have 1 million. Like, imagine you for 5 years grew at this slow rate to like 100K. YouTube is the perfect example for this. You grew for 5 years and you grew to 100K. It took you 5 years. But then in that 5th year, you went from 100K to 1 million. It's possible. It's 100% possible. And it could be for something random, right? Some random video went viral, or you did something smart, some kind of marketing challenge, but I don't know if that would really be smart on YouTube. But like, I guess referrals on YouTube is weird. But you get what I mean. Like, there's something that you could do that in that 5th year, it just blew up, it compounded, because now your 100,000 fans are telling their friends about the channel, and that's huge. That's huge. So I think YouTube is the perfect example of that. So hopefully this fired you up a little bit and gave you some insight into how I'm thinking about this, like a long-term play. Again, that was a really good video. So it's like an hour-long video, Hormozi just basically taking people who have done insane things like Mr. Beast, Kylie Jenner, Dwayne Johnson, and just breaking down factors of them and how they got there. And the first point he writes for everybody is time, right? It's literally just like, they've been doing this for a long time. There's no shortcut. There's nobody who was like, yeah, this person just really got it in like a month. Not something that happens. So yeah, hope you got some value out of this. And with that said, I will catch you in the next one. Peace. And for those of you who don't know, I own Museum. I don't know if you can see this logo. I have my glasses off right now, so my vision is horrible, so I literally cannot see if that's in the frame or not. But I own Museum. It is a newsletter that summarizes other newsletters. We're basically trying to be the Blinkist of newsletters, because there's a lot out there and they're really valuable, but they're so long. And then when you read a shit ton of them, like if you're reading like 3 newsletters, I mean, you could have 10-minute read times on each. That's going to add up depending if it's daily, weekly, whatever. So we just summarize those newsletters for you. Right now, we just kind of have a select list. But yeah, if you want to check that out, link will always be in the description below. But yeah, with that said, thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.